So this time to discuss about the Cities and Municipalities Competitive Index, or CMCI, is a Department of Trade and Industry homegrown officer who climbed from the ranks over her 37-year stint in the department and is now Director 4 of the Competitiveness Bureau of DTI. Director Lilian Salonga. Prior to this, she was a Director 3 of the Consumer Protection and Advocacy Bureau. Also, she headed 3 offices as OIC Executive Director in the construction sector, CIAP, CMDF, and PCAB. Let us put our hands together for Director Lilian Salonga. Good afternoon, Director Lilian.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good Thursday afternoon. Of course, Secretary Boy de la Peña, Yusek Guevara, Yusek Maborang, and also our colleagues and partners in academe, private, and public sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed grateful to the DOST-STII to be able to take part in this initiative and that be able to share our cities and municipalities competitiveness index towards our seamless effort in enabling smart cities. For developing countries like the Philippines, the importance of establishing local indicators of development and competitiveness cannot be overemphasized, and that building local competitiveness is critical to enhancing our competitiveness and as well as national competitiveness as a whole. It is of this prime importance that we as a country understand what is happening within in order to fully understand what needs to be developed. We have the competitiveness index already established since 2012. According to Paul Krugman, a world-renowned economist, the best way to understand how international economy works is to start by looking at what happens inside the nation. Since the Philippines is a democratic and archipelagic region, each locality has its own competitive advantage, which are not able to leverage on because nor they are what their capacities to contribute in national competitiveness is. By inciting in developing the local competitiveness, we at the DTI aim to diversify investment, also of course creating job opportunities, new wealth, and overall improve the standard of living and in aid of foreign direct investments by making the country as an attractive investment site. So to further discuss, we first ask how competitive our cities are and how easy is it to start a business in a particular city or municipality, and what are the costs of doing business? These questions were really something not easy to answer, but we found out that to gather the data at the local level, even at the city level, this is an aggregated by reliance of data collection to either funding institutions that even have some time lag in national data survey, and census are not usually done after 3 years or a 5-year gap. So to address this concern, the DTI during the time of the then National Competitiveness Council being chair with the assistance of USAID, developed the Cities and Municipalities Index. The CMCI is an annual ranking of Philippine cities and municipalities, and that the CMCI has addressed the lack of standardized system for compiling such local indicators in the Philippines, while allowing LGUs to access this at a relative level of competitiveness and also derive insights for local policy making and planning. To understand the CMCI better, let me share with you this video and will explain how it started and how it's being done now, to be able to make use of this as a powerful tool for your policy making and our seamless efforts towards developing digital cities. Please watch this. Please. Can we play for the audio? I think hindi po marinig yung audio. Miss Jackie.
In 2013, Municipalities Competitiveness Index, or CMCI, an annual ranking of Philippine cities and municipalities, the United States Agency for International Development. Each RCC is composed of members. Competitiveness indicators formulate programs to improve competitiveness and engage in investment promotion activities to attract investors and create new jobs at the regional level. Before the creation of the CMCI, there was no such global indicators in the Philippines. Economic development indicator system that generates national economic data is based on different surveys that consider many samples for effectiveness. Thus, more area-specific estimates can be provided in the national data. The CMCI is a framework that encourages Filipinos to gather and submit data to the national compliance and inequalities and convergent pillars. Economic dynamism, which creates government efficiency refers to the quality and reliability of government services and government support for effective and sustainable productive expansion. Infrastructure refers to the physical movement growth, expand, and sustain a locality and its surroundings to enable
In 2013, the Department of Trade and Industry, together with the National Competitiveness Council, through the Regional Competitiveness Committees, or the RCCs, developed the Cities and Municipalities Competitiveness Index, or CMCI, an annual ranking of Philippine cities and municipalities, with the assistance of the United States Agency for International Development. Each RCC is composed of members from the public sector, private sector, and academia. Currently, there are 16 RCCs across the country. The RCCs have been tasked to track local competitiveness indicators, formulate programs to improve competitiveness, and engage in investment promotion activities to attract investors and create new jobs at the regional level. Before the creation of the CMCI, there is no regular and uniform mechanism for compiling such local indicators in the Philippines. The Economic and Development Indicator System that generates national economic data is based on different surveys that consider only samples from localities. Thus, no area-specific estimates can be provided except for regional and national data. CMCI is a program that encourages LGUs to gather and submit data that measure their performance using the 5 core and convergent pillars. Economic dynamism, which creates stable expansion of businesses and industries and high employment. Government efficiency refers to the quality and reliability of government services and government support for effective and sustainable productive expansion. Infrastructure refers to the physical building blocks that connect, expand, and sustain a locality and its surroundings to enable the provisions of goods and services. Resiliency shows how LGUs prepare their locations, environment, firms, and people to respond to different kinds of shock to ensure sustainable growth. Lastly, innovation, which is a new CMCI pillar introduced this year. This is the creation, development and implementation of new products, processes, or services, with the aim of improving efficiency, effectiveness, and competitive advantage. Each pillar has indicators that provide a more detailed view of local economic status. There are 10 indicators for each pillar totaling 50 indicators. Data submitted by LGUs through RCC Assistance are used for the final scoring and ranking. This measurement tool is positioned to empower cities and municipalities to gauge their current level of competitiveness against global standards, identify areas for improvement and growth, and launch reforms and initiatives to further boost local competitiveness. That is why we need to be sure there will be an improvement in the LGU coverage of the CMCI. Every year, DTI holds its Regional Competitiveness Summit to bring together local chief executives, LGU representatives and officials and delegates from national government agencies, the academe, and the private sector. What started was only 285 cities and municipalities actively took part in the 2013 Annual Regional Competitiveness Summit. In 2015, as the project expanded its coverage to 1,120 LGUs, CMCI developed new approach in ranking cities and municipalities as we introduce 5 different competitiveness ranking categories. This includes the provinces, highly urbanized cities, component cities, 3rd to 4th class municipalities, and 5th to 6th class municipalities. There were 1,389 cities and municipalities who took part in the 2016 Annual Regional Competitiveness Summit. During this year, we also started recognizing cities and municipalities with the highest improvement in ranking for each category. The year 2017 the inclusion of Resilience Pillar as part of the CMCI Competitiveness Indicator. A total of 1,487 cities and municipalities participated, all aiming to land the highest ranking to get the title of Most Competitive City or Municipality. The year 2020 Regional Competitiveness Summit marks the highest number of LGU participation as it covers almost 95%, or 1,552 out of 1,634 LGUs nationwide. With the CMCI as an indicator system, we were able to successfully raise the awareness of the LGUs in providing a more efficient and business-friendly environment. DTI Competitiveness Bureau will hold its objective by building more competitive LGUs to raise the country's national competitiveness through public and private collaborations. We are proud to successfully engage our cities and municipalities to participate in the project. CMCI will continue to serve as a large-scale data gathering and measurement exercise and make it useful, available, and accessible to all.
Thank you. Going back, the CMCI uses a framework on competitive advantage developed by Michael Porter. He defined competitiveness as based on location and as essentially the productivity that companies located are achieve. So in terms of the local competitiveness, it really refers to how the city or municipality takes stock of its resources as well as it uses them to improve its standard of living. Improving productivity allows firms, cities, municipalities, and countries to improve their standard of living, thereby deliver heightened prosperity of citizenry. In the next slide, let me just go through quickly how CMCI had already been compiling this data, and LGU submit them in the portal of the CMCI in order to identify their economic strengths, their weaknesses, and allow local level comparisons, which could help lagging LGUs to catch up and better perform local governments. In furtherance of this initiative, the regional competitiveness committees were also established, which has been responsible with the yearly tracking of local competitiveness indicators and formulating programs to improve competitiveness in their locality, and as well as harmonizing efforts to be able to in to be able to come up with programs for investment promotion activities in their respective regions. The CMCI, as mentioned, consists of a framework of promoting sustainable productivity and prosperity across cities and municipalities in the Philippines. So it's based on an analysis of most of the factors determining competitiveness and productivity found among the survey conducted globally and nationally. So this is much pattern after the WEF and other indicators that are internationally accepted. So the convergence among the different survey framework and reports led to 5 core convergent pillars necessary in realizing sustainable competitiveness. These are economic dynamism, government efficiency, infrastructure, resilience, and lately we introduced innovation as the newest among the CMCI pillar this year, but not yet included among the CMCI scoring and ranking that we do annually. So to ensure that LGUs are ranked with comparable peers, they are categorized as highly urbanized cities, component cities, first to second class municipality, third to fourth class municipality, and fifth to sixth class municipality. Apart from LGU competitiveness, the CMCI likewise measures the overall competitiveness of the province and recognizes the overall most competitive province. The most competitive LGUs are recognized during the annual Regional Competitiveness Summit being held usually before we have it at the PACC, but of course this time it's on a virtual platform. But the awards are given to top 3 and belonging to the overall most competitive LGU, most competitive LGU in 4 different competitiveness pillars, and the most improved LGU. As I mentioned, the 5 pillars, economic dynamism, government efficiency, infrastructure, resilience, and innovation. And each of these pillars that provide a more detailed view of the local economic status have 10 indicators for each. So totaling 50 indicators across all LGUs are being conducted. And let me just quickly go through. In terms of economic dynamism, it's usually associated with activities that create stable expansion of businesses and industries and higher employment. And this matches the output and productivity of local economy, and in terms of its resources, among which the indicators are, of course, the size of the local economy, the growth of the local economy, the structure of local economies, safety compliant businesses, the increases in employment, the cost of living, cost of doing business, financial deepening, productivity, and presence of business and professional organization. Moving on to the next pillar, this is on government efficiency, which refers to the quality and reliability of government services and support for effective and sustainable productive expansion. This factor looks at government as an institution that is generally not corrupt, not able to protect and enforce contracts and apply moderate and reasonable taxation, and is able to regulate proactively. In this pillar, we have compliance to national directives, the investment promotion capacity, business registration efficiency, capacity to general local resource, capacity of health services, capacity of school services, recognition of performance, compliance to BPLS standards, security, and social protection. On the third pillar, let me just move on to infrastructure. Of course, this refers to the physical asset that connects, expand, and sustain a locality and its surroundings to enable the provision of goods and services. This involves basic input of production such as energy, water, interconnection of production, such as transportation, roads, communication, sustenance of production such as waste, disaster preparedness, environmental sustainability, and human capital formation infrastructure. So under this pillar, we have basic infrastructure, roads, ports, the availability of basic utilities, public transport, education infrastructure, health infrastructure, LGU invest in infrastructure. We also gauge the accommodation capacity of the LGU, and of course, information technology capacity and financial technology capacity. And on resilience, this is also an important pillar that seriously being taken into by at the CMCI is the capacity of the locality to build systems that can absorb change and disturbance and being able to adapt to such changes. It spans framework that bind LGUs and their constituents to prepare for possible shocks and stresses, budgeting for disaster risk reduction, hazard risk identification mechanism, resilience related infrastructure, and resilience related mechanisms. So these are particularly on the organization and coordination of land use plan, also of organization and coordination of the DRRMP, organization and coordination of annual disaster drill, organization and coordination of presence of an early warning system, resilience financing in terms of the budget for DRMP, resilience report in terms of their local risk assessment, resilience infrastructure, particularly on emergency infrastructure, resilience infrastructure for utilities, resilience of system, particularly on employed population and sanitary system. And as mentioned, the last pillar for competitiveness is innovation, which refers to the creation, development, and implementation of new products, processes, or services which aim to improve efficiency, effectiveness, and competitive advantage of a locality. This covers, of course, the pillar would include startups, the tech startups available in a certain LGU, the innovation facilities, the STEAM graduates. We also look into the innovation financing, particularly on R&D expenditure allotment by the LGU, the intellectual property registration, also in terms of the ICT use or the EBPLS software utilization, the internet capacity, the availability of basic internet services, green innovation projects, as well as the online payment facility. So that covers the 50 indicators, and there's still some sub-indicators under which of those 50 indicators. The rich compendium of local level data in the CMCI has proven to be useful, especially for public sectors, where it serves as a diagnostic tool to assess local level competitiveness, and as well as in crafting their policies and of course their identification of the improvements and insights in policy making and development planning. This likewise is very helpful in the private sector, where it serves as a guide for firms where to locate and decide, particularly an input in identifying the needs of business. The CMCI is also supportive of the academic community, where it serves as an up-to-date centralized compendium of local level data for their research. So In closing, now that you've heard much about the CMCI, I'd like to encourage and call you to action, particularly for the public sector, so that your local competitiveness can be measured through this data analytics, and we also will have you develop new policies and initiatives, particularly for innovation in crafting our smart cities and developmental programs. Of course, for the private sector, you can also take advantage of the information available to initiate public and private partnerships that can be a good collaboration with your LGUs. And to the academe, we encourage you to join the CMCI Academic Symposium and be part of that community that shares ideas and research projects in pursuit of local competitiveness. I would like to invite everyone to please scan the codes flashed on your screen to join the CMCI at DTI Competitiveness Bureau Viber community and know about the CMCI activities and other CB programs, as well as to check out the CMCI website at cmci.dti.gov.ph and see where your LGU's ranking or position in terms of those pillars that I mentioned. And also I'd like to encourage you to like and follow us at the CMCI Facebook to keep you updated on the whereabouts of CMCI. Thank you very much. And of course, we hope that we can be able to make use of the CMCI and learn as you learn its relevance, especially in the creation and development of smart cities. Once again, thank you and magandang hapon po.